Hey guys, welcome to my Freecodecamp tutorials. Today we're doing another intermediate algorithm scripting, and the one we're looking at is binary agents. If you haven't tried this, pause the video now, try it, and come back to this video, and I will show you how I will approach this problem. So let's click on this and read the directions. Return an English translated sentence of the past binary string. The binary strings will be space separated. All right, let's bring this to our code editor. So binaries are just numbers in base 2. They're composed of zeros and ones. And so this one, we will need to do a couple of things to this string. Notice that the parameter that we get is a string. So the first thing I want to do with this string, notice that it is separated. These binary characters are separated by spaces. I want to split this into an array. So what I want from this is an array that kind of looks like this. The first one was 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0. I don't know how many zeros there were, like that. And 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, 1, 0, and so on. So this is what I want to do. So JavaScript comes with this handy method, a string method called a split. And let's look at it here real quick. MDN JavaScript Split. And let's see what it says. The split method turns a string into an array of strings by separating the string at each instance of a specified separator string. So we want to split this string at the spaces. So how we do that is, let me declare a function here, const, I will call it binary string arrays. We get our string and we invoke split method on it, and where we're gonna split it is a spacebar, like so. Put a physical space here. Let's see what the console log result of this is. Binary string arrays, run the code, and we get this nasty thing. So notice we have an array of binary characters, and the binary characters are in a string format. You see these quotation marks, they're still a string. So now what I want to do to each of our elements in this array, I want to convert this to the number that this string is associated with. The actual code, we call that the code that this binary string is associated with. So another method that I'm going to use is called the Parse Int, JavaScript Parse Int. So what this Parse Int method is, a string method. What this does is it converts a string to an integer. Now, normally, whenever you use this, it takes in two parameters. Let me just show you an example here. Let's see. Parse Int is a function, parses a string argument and returns an integer of the specified radix, the base in mathematical numerical system. So normally how you would use this is this. Let's say we had const string as maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, and you wanted to convert this to a number format. So the way that you do this is parse int of the string as the first argument. And normally we always deal with base 10s, like decimal numbers. Like those are the normal numbers that we're used to dealing with in everyday life. So you'll put a base 10 like that. However, what we're interested in is base 2. And not only that, we want, because what is it? Binary is base 2. These are all base 2 numbers. Not only that, we want to do this to every single element in our binary string arrays. So let's declare a new variable here and call it const binary code arrays. And we have to do that to every single element in our binary string arrays. And the way that I'm going to do that is called a map method of an array. So let's get our binary string arrays and call map on it. A map takes in a function, a callback function, and pretty much what map does is it gets every single element and converts it to another shape. So the parameter of our function, we're going to call it, let's call it just element L, And how we want to transform that element, in other words, map that element, is we want to invoke Parse Int on it, on the element, to base 2, like so. Now, let's see what the result of that looks like. I'm gonna run it. And we get this 65, 114, 101. These are all numbers. Notice that we don't have any strings, these quotation marks here. So these are all the codes. And these are actually the Ascii codes. Hopefully you guys are familiar with Ascii codes. But pretty much every single string, every single character that we could type has a code associated with it. Let's see, what's a good picture example here? Perhaps this one. Yeah, so for example, this lowercase j is 106. So we had to convert all of these numbers, these codes, into its string counterpart. So the way that I am going to do that is, let's call it const, a new variable. What should we call this one? How about just string arrays? Maybe character arrays, because each of these guys corresponds to a single character. So we'll call it char arrays. And I don't know why I have an S here. So let's get rid of these S's, because it's a single array. Like so. Let's get rid of this console log. And we want to call the map function again. We want to map through every single element in this binary code array. And we want to transform each element to its string counterpart. So the way that we do that is we call this function called, it comes natively built in with JavaScript, capital string from car code. So capital string from car code, and the code that we want to pass it is the element itself. So this will transform it to its character counterpart. Let's console log this and see what we get. Console log car array, and we get this. So now it's looking a little better. We have all of these characters separated in an array. So how do we convert this back to a string? Right now we have an array, we want to convert it back to a string. The way that I'm going to do this is I'm going to make a new variable called the output string, and that will pretty much be, we have to join this array back to a string. So array has a join method. Let's call that on our car array. And what are all of these characters, all these elements in the array going to be joined with? We're going to say they're going to be joined with an empty string. Meaning, if we, for example, had a space here, let's console log the output string of that. What if we join them with a space? Then they will look like this. Do you see all these spaces in between? We don't want those. What we want instead is an empty string in between. And it appears this was the correct answer of our example. So now that we have that, we joined it with an empty string, we joined it back into a string. All we have left to do is return the output string. Let's see what we get. Let's console log the result of this and see what we get. Aren't bonfires fun? Let's see if Freecodecamp likes this solution. Run the tests and it passes. So let's refactor our code somewhat. Notice we're declaring a variable only to use it once after, because we're going to transform it to something else and transform that to something else and so on. So there's a way to shortcut this. Look at this orange squiggly line that my code editor has. What this is saying is this variable is redundant because we declare a variable and then we return it right away. So we could just return this whole thing here instead of declaring the variable only to return it right after. So we could do that. But I'm going to be doing a couple more refactorings. So we could do this. I'm going to combine all of these into one. I'm going to chain them. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to say the const result is equal to, we're going to first get the string and split it. Notice now we have an array And to our array, we could call the map function here, the map method, and convert everything to its code counterparts. And then we're gonna, to that array, we are gonna map again and get the character representation of each code, like so. And then finally, we join it back to a string, like so. Hopefully that made sense. And now what we have left to do is return the result. Let's see if we get the same answer. It appears that we do. So again, we declare this variable only to return it right after. So why don't we just return this, like so. It looks pretty nasty. Maybe one thing we could do to make it look nicer is put enters for all the dots, like so. That will still work. Now notice we have a map. We map through each element in the array only to map through each element again. So we could make that into one by, after parsing the int, parsing the binary code from our strings, we could just call string from car code right away after, like so. I feel like I'm missing a parenthesis. Yes, I am. So I need one more parenthesis, like so. Let's see if that works. And it appears that it does. So I'm gonna convert this now to a ES6 arrow function notation, const binary string. And since we only have one parameter, we could get rid of the parentheses, put an arrow. Because we're returning, we just have one statement in here. This is just one big statement. We could get rid of and the curly brace and the return, and just return right away. So we could get rid of this right here. That looks pretty nasty. So let's bring this one up here. As a matter of fact, we could get rid of these parentheses too and just leave it like that. Let's see if that works. And it appears that it does. Let's bring this code to Freecodecamp and run the test. There we go. Hey, thank you guys so much for joining me again in this Freecodecamp JavaScript algorithm. Today we did binary agents. Again, not my favorite because practically speaking, I just feel like we never really deal with binary numbers in JavaScript as a JavaScript developer, but whatever, you know, they asked us to do it, so we did it. And the next time we meet, we'll be doing everything be true. So this one, I think is gonna be a pretty fun one. So please stay tuned. Please try it on your own, and come join me the next time. Now, as I always say, if you haven't liked my content yet, then please click like and please click subscribe. And I will see you guys next time.